Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm Ron Burke. Week 13 now in the NFL, and it has been a difficult one. You know, one of the refreshing things about covering sports is every day is different. But unfortunately, that includes events like we witnessed this week when death stepped in and interrupted the normal course of life for one of the game's phenomenal young talents. Let me now bring in our three analysts to discuss as we begin this week's show. Each of these men has a unique connection to dealing with death as an NFL player. With me in Philadelphia, Brian Baldinger. In our nation's capital, Doc Walker. And in Dallas, courtesy of Bodog Football, is Tim Brown. Gentlemen, as always, welcome. And Doc, let's start with you. You're right there in D.C. where Sean Taylor played his 4 NFL seasons. And now, as we've gotten past this week with the despair, Taylor dying at age 24, now business starts for the Redskins. On the field Sunday, they'll host the Buffalo Bills. Then they have another game Thursday. Doc, how do they deal with these next several days with a funeral in between 2 football games and all the emotions that are wrapped up in what happened this past week?
Well, Ron, you know, it's almost impossible for me to predict that or anticipate it. Coach Gibbs says something that stuck with me. He says it's an hour-by-hour progression. You try to get through each hour. The uplifting news today was that Mr. Taylor was in town along with Sean's fiance and daughter. He spoke to the team and basically told them that he would love to see them focus, get on a roll, and make it to the playoffs, because that's what Sean would want. And it's been a very, very emotional several days. It will continue to be that. This town has rallied. I mean, Eagle fan, Cowboy fan, Giant fan, all fans have united in just blessings, prayers, and tributes to Sean.
Yeah, rivals uniting much in the way you saw rivals of Virginia Tech unite in that school's tragedy. Here is Joe Gibbs said during the week that, you know, hey, he's a celebrated coach, but nothing prepared him for this, certainly. And Redskins players now, as they return to practice this Wednesday, were faced with dealing with the issues of on-field preparation and also what had happened on the field that was so tragic to that team and the league.
You know, it's definitely tough. It's not even, you know, close to long enough for anyone to say they're healed or have forgotten. You know, but what we did today as a team is we know what Sean would have wanted us to do. And as DBs, as a group, we took him on the field with us today, and that's what we'll do from now for the rest of the season.
It's difficult. I mean, the focus level in itself is tough. But like I said before, as you know, as your teammates are up in the sky looking down on you, they will want you to keep on pushing, keep on moving forward.
Back here in our studio in Philadelphia, Baldy, back in 1992, you were a Philadelphia Eagle when Jerome Brown, in that offseason leading to that season, crashed his car and was killed in a wreck. How'd you guys handle it?
Well, I'll never forget the day, the moment, Doc talking hour by hour. I'll never forget the hour that I got the phone call and the chills that went through me and how it just froze me. And it's very similar guy at the top of his game, a lover of life, one of those guys that the team rallied around. How we dealt with it is, you know, we used it as a rallying cry. We did exactly what Sean Taylor's father told the Redskins to do. Jerome would want us to see us get to the playoffs, have a great season, stay united, don't forget me, and we didn't. And we carried Jerome's torch throughout the entire season into the playoffs that year.
You won a playoff game in New Orleans, as a matter of fact, that year. Tim Brown has dealt with it a couple of times as an Oakland Raider. Death of a teammate, Eric Turner, the safety, passed away during the offseason. But Tim, Stacy Torren, another defensive back, was a guy who passed away when you guys were in training camp. So you were congregated as a team when you lost Stacy Torren.
Yeah, that was very tough. For me personally, it was very tough because Stacy is a Notre Dame guy. Actually helped the university recruit me when I went out for my recruiting trip at Notre Dame. So to have an opportunity to play with them my rookie year and for this to happen in training camp my second year was a very, very difficult thing. And, you know, we tried to deal with it as much as possible, but it's very strange when you go to back to the meeting rooms and you're watching film and you see this guy running around on the film, and you know 2 days later, 2 days before, he had just passed away tragically in another car crash. So it was a very difficult thing. And to be honest with you, if not for the shenanigans of Al Davis and Mike Shanahan that year, Mike was actually fired after 3 or 4 games, I don't know if we would have ever gotten over it. But that was sort of a distraction for us, and we were focusing more on that than Stacy, and it sort of got us over the hump. But it's a very difficult thing, and for these guys to have to go play games, at least we were in training camp. But these guys got to go play games, and it's a very difficult thing to try and put behind you.
Yeah, in the Skins case, they have 2 games in 5 days. Sunday, they're at home for both of them. Sunday, they'll take on the Bills. Then Thursday, they turn around and play the Chicago Bears there at FedEx Field. And we thank you all for your unique perspective. And interestingly, you all do have this particular connection with Doc being in D.C. Of course, Baldy with Jerome Brown and Tim Brown as well out there in with the Oakland Raiders and his experiences in losing teammates that were so near and dear to the organization. So you certainly wish the best, Doc, to you guys in D.C. and to the Redskins as they continue to marshal on through this great tragedy. We must move on here on the show and deal with issues on the field. And in doing so, you look at one of the premier matchups, and it's all relative to the situation, but it looks real good as we begin in the AFC South here, Baldy, with the Jacksonville Jaguars at 8-3, the Colts at 9-2. So Jacksonville has a chance now to get to first place, at least in the argument for first place, depending on how the tiebreakers would work out in the end. Colts really dominated them the first time they met. 29-7, I think, was the final score. Jacksonville's a different team right now, though, with a different quarterback, and seemingly has turned things around in this season. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, since that loss, in that loss, they lost David Garrard, at the beginning of the third quarter. And so they played without him, and they really struggled offensively. Quinn Gray came in, and he struggled immediately. And so a game that had such big buildup for first place at that time, again, has similar implications right now. And since then, Indianapolis has been struck by the injury bug, losing a couple of really good players for them. I don't think anybody sheds too much mercy on Indianapolis and when they lose some of the players they've lost. But it is at home. It is in Indianapolis. And I would expect that the Colts are going to rally around the loss of some of those players and some of the speculation that they can't be as good without those players. I think they'll be up to the task. It's a rivalry game. These two teams know each other very, very well. I think the Colts are still top to bottom a better team.
Let's take a look at the Jags' production, at least some of it, as it relates to Jacksonville heading into this game. You see they've scored at least 3 touchdowns in 5 consecutive games, so the offense is really revving with Garrard at quarterback. Jaguars 4-1 on the road this season as compared to 2-6 last year away from home, but 1-5 in 6 games at Indy. Only win came in 2004 for Jacksonville in Indianapolis. But Doc, as we look at the situation on offense here for a team that offensively has really churned it up in the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have a quarterback in David Garrard. You look at the touchdown numbers, they don't blow you away, only 9. But when you look at interceptions, he has yet to throw a pick this season. He's not just managing the offense, he's taking care of the football and making plays for that Jacksonville Jaguars team.
Ron, you hit it right on the nose. The key is that if you don't help your opponent beat you, and you can run the ball, they have 2 backs that can hold on to the ball, a quarterback that's just managing games. And the big news, and we said this a week ago, the wide receivers, and I know Timmy we can talk about this in an eloquent sense, but those guys have started to earn their money. And now that they can give you some stretch, they're pretty tough to beat.
Tim, when you look at the Jaguars in this particular matchup, an opportunity to knock off the big dog, the team that perennially has been the big dog in that conference. And when you look at the Colts injury situation, do you have to think that if you're Jacksonville, this is the time to get them because they're ripe for the picking?
Well, without a doubt, Ron, if they can't beat these guys without Marvin and Clark and all these other guys, Freeney who is out, it's going to be impossible for them to ever think that they can beat them. I know it's up in Indianapolis, but this is a game that the Jacksonville Jaguars, in my opinion, they have to win. If they have any chance of challenging for the AFC South or the AFC period, they have to go up there and win this game. They are the better team right now, in my opinion. You can't lose Marvin Harrison, the guys that they've lost, and expect to go and be the same team. As you look at if you look at the Colts' points production, I think they're 11 points less now without those guys in the lineup. So it's going to be very difficult for the Indianapolis Colts to score on Jacksonville, I believe. And I think this is a game, again, the Jaguars have to win.
Definitely a game to watch. And as we say so long to Tim, have a great week. We appreciate everything. We remind you, the viewer, for more on Tim Brown's insight and analysis on the pro game, visit bodogfootball.net. Tim, we'll see you back next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
As always. Now, we take our first break in the proceedings this week. But